Hey guys, Marissa at kitchentablestamper.com. Today I've got this card for you. We're going to make, this was one of my mystery cards from our game this week. The mystery card game is something that we do every other week on the Craft Social. I lead you through a series of clues to make a card. And this week in mystery card, we went with kind of a recipe, if you will, maybe a sketch, a layout. It was very simple, but I wanted to show the usefulness of this particular formula. So we've got a card that when it's folded is 5.5 by 4.25. Then we've got a mat, this real red one, that is an inch smaller than that. So it's 3.25 by 4.5. And then designer series paper pieces that are 1 3/8 by 3. And when you use these three pieces in a combination, you get a really fantastic, successful card every time. So this is the one that I'm going to show you today. We'll do this one live on Facebook. Very simple, same thing. So you can add layers, like here I added the candy cane stripe. This is the most basic, essential of the recipe. 4.25 by 5.5, 3.25 by 4.5, 1 3/8 by 3. 3 different designer series paper, fun stamped image and a greeting. Every time it's fun and successful. Here's one more example. This time we added a layer in between the card base, 5.5 by 4.25, and our mat, 4.5 by 3.25. And this is those contour dies. Isn't that so gorgeous? All right, and then the last example, this was from my friend Sandy. It was a card swap, and she did a little white mat underneath. So this is, again, 5.5, 4.25, and the black is 4.5, 3.25, but then there's a little white one, a second mat here, that's 3 1/8 by 4 3/8, or 4 3/8 by 3 1/8. So by adding layers, or by changing the orientation, we put our sentiment the other way, this card will turn out right every single time using those measurements, and it's a good go-to layout. So let's make this one today. I'm going to start with a card base. It's garden green, and it is 8.5 by 5.5, and then scored at 4.25. So it's a standard card base. And I've got a piece of garden green, so I'm going to add a layer into kind of the basic recipe. The basic recipe is the 3 measurements: the designer series paper, 1 3/8 by 3, the mat, 4.5 by 3.25, and then the card, 5.5 by 4.25. But we're going to add in one little layer here and just give it that beautiful framed candy cane background. We're going to use the candy canes cling stamp from Stampin' Up. It is a rubber background stamp, and I'm going to do in my Stamparatus, because then I know that if it's not a perfect image, if it's, maybe a little faded in the middle, or I missed one of the ends or something, I can go ahead and just reapply the stamp, and I don't ruin the piece. So I got my Stamparatus, and I can see where it's going to stamp because it's stamped on the grid paper. So I know that I'm going to get edge to edge coverage. This piece is 4 by 5.25. I'm going to ink my candy canes with garden green and give it a stamp. And just walk your hands along the back here and give the ink some time to transfer, and give a good press in the center. Lift carefully, and my image is a little kind of hazy right around the side, so I'm just gonna press one more time there. A little bit stronger image now. There we go. Isn't that just a gorgeous background? I love this stamp. All right, let's slide this to the side, and we can adhere it to our card base. Got some liquid glue, and I'm just going to glue this guy right down. Make sure my card opens the right way. I can't tell you how many times I've glued things upside down. Not that this one would matter. We just turn it around. All right, so there's our background. Then the next piece of our formula, after the 5.5 by 4.25 card, is the 4.5 by 3.25 mat. Now, don't worry about writing down these measurements. There is a printable project sheet on the blog. Just follow the link below the video that says project details if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're on the blog, right underneath this video that you're watching is a link that says click here for your printable project sheet. And all the measurements will be there. All right, so there's our second part in the formula. Now the third part in the formula is our designer series paper. These are all 1 3/8 by 3 inches. And let's go ahead and glue those on. Oh my gosh, I hate putting glue on the pretty side of the paper. This painted Christmas paper is so beautiful. I love the different color palettes that you can pull out of the pack. Do you see the soft suede pine cones, soft suede and crumb cake? We've got garden green and real red. We've pulled those colors out for our design, but there's also some beautiful evening evergreen and soft succulent designs too in this pack. It's quite the variety. All right, so we've applied them with liquid glue evenly, so there's a nice even border all the way around. And see how the measurements just work. Now let's do some stamping. Got some basic white cardstock here. And I'm going to slide this one aside. We'll use this one for our tag. We're going to do all of our greenery and pine cones with a Christmas season stamp set. It's a 14-piece photopolymer stamp set. So let's grab a Stampin' Pierce mat and get some ink pads here. So ink pads, I have Evening Evergreen, Garden Green, Pear Pizzazz, and Real Red. We're going to start with our leaf, this two-tone leaf right here, and it's a two-step stamp. It's got the details and then the full leaves. I like to start with the details and I want to stamp them off. So I'm going to bring in some grid paper. I'm going to take the details in Garden Green and lightly stamp off and then stamp them. And then the full leaves, I'm going to ink them in Pear Pizzazz and lightly stamp off. Oh, I don't like the way that one inked right there. Lightly stamp off and then line up and stamp over with the full leaves. Isn't that beautiful? Fresh and green, very vibrant. Now, got some evergreens here. Let's go ahead and stamp 2 of those using Garden Green. And now a little sprig of berries. So we got the little stem. We're going to do that Evening Evergreen. And then our beautiful berries. Oh, I love this. It just adds a gorgeous pop to every Christmas card. We're going to ink them with Real Red and stamp them on the sprig. Isn't that fantastic? All right, I'm going to clear these away and get the colors for the pine cones. My pine cones are Crumb Cake and Early Espresso. And I like to do these so that we've got the lighter color, the background color first, the lighter, fuller stamp. I'm going to do that with Crumb Cake. And we got a little guy, and you can see that it's just the fuller image. And then the details, you can see, are a little bit more sparse image, and I'm going to do that with Early Espresso. I like to do that on top. I feel like I can line it up better this way. I tried doing the darker details first and then lining the Crumb Cake, the lighter one, over, and I just don't get quite as nice alignment. So there's our pine cones. Doesn't that just give such depth between the distinctive stamp with the highlights built into the stamp and then the different layers stamping off sometimes? It just really gives you an artistic look. And all you did was ink and stamp. Let's get the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and we're going to cut the tag, and then we'll cut out our images. All right, our tag for this card is cut using the Seasonal Labels dies. I've got this long skinny label and this little hole punch, like tag and die, and I just tape them together. So now I've got a tag with a thread hole on one side. You can do both sides like I did on the die chart and have a little slide for the ribbon. You see it's got this shape that fits right up into those scallops, and it's got this long slot that you can use on the ends of the tags. So the die cuts out a completely solid shape in all of these different labels, but then you can modify them using the small dies to cut the slots or the thread holes. All right, let's grab that white cardstock we set aside, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and make a tag. So you see with the two pieces taped together as one, get the perfect tag every time. You can even cut a few of these ahead of time so you'll have them for your sentiments. Let's go ahead and give this a cut. All right, and just like that, it's a tag. So you can have a tag, a label, or a slide all from the same dies. Pretty cool. Oh, let's leave this here and cut out our stamped images now. In that same die set, you get the dies to cut all the stamped images. So we're gonna go ahead and using a little bit of low-tack tape, I used some leftover washi tape, we're going to cut out all these little images. I'm going to have to do 2 passes because I've got 2 of these sprigs. So let's see if we can get as many as we can in one pass. That's my favorite game. I have 2 sets of these dies because I love the labels so much, and for class prep that makes it easier. So I might be able to do it all in one pass, but some of them are kind of close. Not bad. With that extra set of dies, I was able to do them all in one pass. That makes me so happy. I love to get all my die cutting in one pass. All right. We have one more bit of stamping to do with the sentiment on the tag. So let's grab our Stampin' Pierce mat and, oh, no, we don't need it. We got a rubber greeting. So our greeting is Merry Christmas, and it is from Christmas to Remember. We're going to use Merry Christmas on the outside, and then may this be a Christmas to remember and cherish on the inside. I love this greeting set. This is going to be featured heavily in my own Christmas cards. I love the font that's whimsical, but not silly, not overdone. All right, we want our tag to go off to the left for this design, and we're going to use real red for our greetings. And I'm just going to center it in the space that's left, top to bottom, right to left. Got some of the Simply Elegant trim. I have used so much of this. Almost all the gold and lots of the silver. It's kind of wily, so let's just tie a quick bow. Usually, you know, if you hang around kitchen table stamper, I don't tie that anchor knot. I don't do that over under like this initial knot right here. It just adds bulk. But for this wily little twine, you have to. It won't stay tied if you don't. So over under and then loop, swoop, tuck, and pull. And we're going to have some loopy loops and some curly tails, and it's okay because it just brings that beautiful bright gold to this card, which is so festive. Cut that away from the spool. For our inside greeting, I've got this pierced scalloped rectangle, and we cut that one using the scalloped contours dies. It's the second largest one from that set. And we're going to use the same ink inside, real red. That's such a beautiful font. I love the combination of the bold capital printing and the swoopy, but not goofy cursive font. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, let's go ahead and glue the one in the inside. And use multi-purpose liquid glue there. And we'll center right inside. For the outside, we're going to bring our greenery back in, and we'll use a combination of dimensionals and liquid glue. I like to start with my pine cones because they're kind of the anchor of the whole thing, and just put the dimensionals kind of centered because we're going to tuck everything else up underneath. So we want to leave room underneath for tucking the other pieces. Before I burnish that down, I want to look at about where my sentiment's going to land, make sure I like the way everything looks. Then I'll add my small pine cone. We'll use some liquid glue for the leaves. Tuck them in behind. So pretty. I love these leaves. They just add such a fresh brightness. Then this guy right here, my little berries, I'm going to put dimensional and then a little bit of liquid glue at the stem. For the branches, little liquid glue on the first one, tuck it in, little dimensional on the second one, right at the end. We'll overlap them a little bit and tuck that one in. Our Merry Christmas is going to get a little bit of glue on the tag end and a little bit of dimensionals on the other end because it's going to go over those pine cones, so we can take advantage of their lift greeting, just a little extra support where it's off the pine cones. I'm going to lift and tuck there. So good. Let's bring our sample in there. So I was wondering when I did this one how it would look with the multicolor pattern on the outside and the monochromatic, the green pattern on this side. And I think they're both quite beautiful. Let's add just a little bit of bling. I've got these wonderful gems. They are red and clear. The clear have a gorgeous warm gold glitter in them. And the red have kind of an iridescent shine and kind of a fiery glitter that throws a bit of different color with the gold. It's just a really gorgeous set of embellishments. Perfect for the holidays, but this will go into Valentine's Day too. So I love this pack. We're gonna add a couple of these gems, a bigger one and a littler one on the greeting, and then a third one just kind of floating away from them on our pine cones. And that's it. Merry Christmas. May this be a Christmas to remember and cherish. All right, you guys, if you have any questions about the project, email marisa@kitchentablestamper.com. Come on over to Facebook and give me a follow on the business page. You'll see this video done live there Friday at noon on the 29th of October. And if you've got any questions about the projects, check out the project sheet. The link is below. Come on over to the blog. You can print it for free. To shop Stampin' Up 24/7, buzz over to marisaalvarez.stampinup.net. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.